Sandbar
this.
calls him Nick Fuentes, says, "You're crazy if you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk." Watch this.
Time to wake up, guys. Some of this, I'll be the first one to say, the conspiratard schizo thing, it's getting a little out of control. And that's
Really?
coming from me. I mean, it's like we are truly through the looking glass. When Charlie Kirk is assassinated, people blame Israel. I, who fought Charlie Kirk because he was pro-Israel, am being said to, I'm being said to be covering up that he was killed for this miraculous conversion. If Ben Shapiro was taken out next, and God forbid, would Israel be behind that too?
I mean, I love how he's explaining it so logically, and yet he's trying to seem as though it's absurd. But what he's saying makes logical sense. The about face that Charlie Kirk did at the end of his life, I mean, it's plausible. Why is he trying to make it seem like it's absurd? I think he's got some cognitive dissonance here. Even it's hard for him to get it out because, like, his body is fighting what his mind needs to say, you know? It's sort of that interesting contradiction.
I mean, that would be equally ridiculous. If it was Ben Shapiro on Wednesday, people would be saying, Israel did it. Shapiro was about to become a National Socialist. Like, what? It's crazy. Anyway, so that, I mean, that just needs to be said.
Fall is planting season. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do
Fuck
better when
off,
planted
dude.
this
Fuck
time of
that
year?
shit.
Are thinking differently about Israel. But that is, of course, not happening with Ben, but it did happen with Charlie Kirk. So the question is, why is Nick Fuentes potentially saying this? Now, of course, he could just genuinely believe
That's crazy that she's got sponsors. But I mean, it's not crazy because she's got 676,000 subscribers, so I can understand that. But yep, I came back. I told you just like I said I would. I'm trying to give you 4 hours per day. I didn't say all at once, just said 4 hours per day, okay? That's what I'm good for.
it. But Owen Benjamin, he has his own theory, and he says, I predicted this publicly the day after it happened. He needs to do this. So he's talking about Nick Fuentes, and he says he needs to do this to stay the Jew guy and not allow Charlie Kirk to have any of it's the Jews' credit. He had a 6-year Groiper war against Charlie Kirk, completely based on Charlie being a shill for Israel. Him agreeing to debate him and Fuentes running and then dying a martyr is a nightmare for Fuentes. He wants Charlie's fans.
Is that true that Charlie Kirk agreed and Fuentes did not?
So he has to be soft on Israel. None of this will work. His bots are totally backfiring. My bits on Fuentes are so obviously true and funny that the giant bot machine he has going now just makes people think his fans are idiots with no sense of humor.
And didn't I say this, that Nick Fuentes covets Charlie Kirk's audience and his reputation and his prominence and his prestige within the right-wing youth movement, if you will. So yeah, he wants Charlie's fans. He's trying to position himself. It's all the same. You know, Nick Fuentes wants to be the next Charlie Kirk. They're no different. They're both imperial neocons. They're both white supremacists. They both espouse ideology that divides and toxifies people. And they promote the same system, the same economic system, the same power structure that ultimately runs public life. So,
and anyone that isn't legit gay and regarded who actually listens to him talk for more than 5 minutes gets a feeling of extreme disgust that never goes away. Nick doesn't actually believe anything or have any actual political agenda outside of gaining power for himself at all costs. It's so insanely obvious.
Nick doesn't actually believe in anything or have any actual political agenda outside of gaining power for himself.
Yes. So Owen Benjamin obviously does not like Nick Fuentes. I don't necessarily.
Which one is Owen Benjamin? Is he the bald guy? No, I don't know who this is. Scary though. It's a scary picture. Look how wide his eyes are. That's a devout sociopath right there. He has endorsed Yahtzee policies. Bada bing, bada bang, bada bing, bang, boom.
Agree with everything that Owen Benjamin is saying right here, but I do agree that it wouldn't be good for Nick to suddenly have Charlie Kirk being taken out by Israel, because Owen Benjamin points out something I think that makes a lot of sense, and that is Nick and Charlie had this Groyper war for 6 years. Nick has accused Charlie Kirk of being too pro-Israel, defending Israel, doing anything for Israel, bending over backwards for Israel. And so suddenly, if Charlie Kirk's taken out by Israel, suddenly, it kind of it does. Not that it delegitimizes his Groyper war that he's had with Charlie Kirk, but it certainly takes the air out of the Groyper war a
Look,
little bit.
never trust a man that has his eyes too far apart from each other or too close together, okay? You just can't trust them. They're absolute sociopaths. You see it once, you see it 1,000 times. It never changes, okay?
Because suddenly Charlie's on. I mean, suddenly they have to all like Charlie. Suddenly they all have to think Charlie's a martyr because Israel, the evil country that the Groypers have been talking about, suddenly, do you see what I'm saying? Like suddenly it's just not good for the Groypers to have Charlie Kirk on their side when they have been actually going after him for many, many years. So instead, Nick is saying, it's not Israel. This is crazy for you to even be thinking this. How dare you? And he's got a bit of a point there, which is Charlie Kirk was one of the biggest shills for Israel, one of the biggest supporters for Israel, one of the biggest excuse makers for Israel up until the last few weeks of his life when he started to say,
Which is why it makes sense that Israel would have... Only thing worse than being Israel's enemy is Israel's friend. I mean, we're talking about a country that has a formal policy within their military to mow down their own civilians if any trouble arises, and we know they use that with great liberality, that policy. They have no principles. They will turn on each other. Completely sick, depraved, sociopathic society that looks at people as objects for political gain. And, if they can use you, they will do it. And even if you are a supporter, of Israel, maybe that's the thing that is used against you, because now they can say, hey, look, they can blame, that's a false flag psyop situation where they can blame other groups. They love to do that. They love to instill and instigate and then blame Iran. We saw Netanyahu already using, just spewing lies in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder and manufacturing consent for, the allegation that it was radical Islamists that were behind this, or that it was the progressive woke cultural Marxists in the United States acting on behalf of Iran. The Iranian-backed proxies, remember, they're everywhere. And if you don't see them, that's because they're so adept at hiding. And if you do see them, that's because they're everywhere.
Wait a minute. Why am I not allowed to have discussions that...
That's right. We heard the Mossad agent liken what they do to the Truman Show, which was pretty revealing.
Challenge Israel. Why am I not allowed to have people... Why am I not allowed to platform people with different opinions? And people were really insanely upset about that. Things are still looking highly suspicious. Here's Netanyahu once again coming out to defend Israel, deny any Israeli wrongdoing when it comes to Charlie Kirk's death. This is just a bit over the top. How many times does a foreign leader? Do you think he'd be busy? He's waging war on 7 fronts.
Exactly.
Essentially,
the fact that he's taken time out of his day to address this on numerous occasions tells you a lot. I mean, methinks the lady doth protest too much. Didn't Shakespeare say it all?
Facing his own criminal charges. He has protests going on in his own country. I mean, he's the leader.
Methinks the Satan doth protest too much.
Of a foreign country that's at war. Wars he started, but nonetheless. And yet he's taking the time out of his busy schedule, day after day after day, to basically say, look, guys, nothing to see here. Israel didn't do it. Watch this.
Joseph Goebbels, not
he starts his speech with Joseph Goebbels.
Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread.
He's always talking about lying.
Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie.
Wait a second. No, this is Netanyahu doing a masterclass on lying. He's the liar in chief. He's just giving the game away right now.
That Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant, a once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization.
And he also, in that same letter, expressed his concern and outrage for the destruction of Gaza, from what I understand.
He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security.
I think this highlights an interesting contradiction you see in our culture here in the United States among right-wing political, right-wing MAGA, if you will, the MAGA crowd. There's a fissure happening, you know, and it's over Israel. Israel is highlighting this contradiction. It's exacerbating, escalating this contradiction. And that's why we see it's pitting the likes of Charlie Kirk versus Ben Shapiro, you know, where they're, I mean, you know, this is all a spectacle anyway, obviously. This is what they do. It's the culture war, you know. But it's a big distraction, no doubt. But at the same time, Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, like, kind of going back and forth. And you can see that it's like white supremacy versus Jewish supremacy. I mean, I think if I could pin it down to two camps within the right-wing movement, it would be white supremacists versus Jewish supremacists. I mean, Ben Shapiro is your devout Jewish supremacist. He pledges fealty to Israel. He only aligns with the United States because of the United States' unconditional support for Israel. And if that were to change, he would be against the United. He wouldn't, you know, he would cease to be an American, basically. And Charlie Kirk is, you know, an America first right-winger. You know, to me, you can have it both, okay? I don't want either part of that. But within a narrower framework, that is a contradiction happening, and it's eating itself, I think. I think we're headed for civil war at a certain point, and I don't say that lightly. I really think we're headed for much darker and more strange times, and it's really going to be interesting seeing the end of this presidency, like seeing 2028. Wouldn't it be 28 or 29? Around the turn of the decade. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty wild. What is going to be, I mean, you know that they're gaming this out. Another thing I was thinking just as I'm talking and ranting, you don't think the Mossad, we just heard an interview where a Mossad agent told us that the Mossad is a global production company. They are the producers, the directors, and the main actors. He says the world itself is their stage. Was that an interview to manufacture fear in the public and and inspire fear in their enemies? Absolutely. Could it be, you know, overblown, the influence? Perhaps. But I think we have seen material evidence that they are able to carry out deceptive, acts and, you know, assassinations being chief among them. But my point is, you don't think they have a plan for that? You don't think that they have, I mean, it's like the CIA has a plan, has a possible plan concocted for everything. I mean, they thought about every possible means of subversion and deception that they have available to them. They're going to game it out. So, I mean, you know, is there a file in the Mossad headquarters on Charlie Kirk and possible scenarios involving Charlie Kirk or other, or just a conservative influencers? Seems pretty plausible to me. Who knows?
Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that...
Well, again, I say that this is my personal belief. No, I don't have proof that the Mossad was behind Kirk's assassination. And I don't think that there's any substantial evidence to suggest that. But we also are locked out of the truth by design, by the institutions that we know are there to manufacture consent for their lies. So it's up to us to speculate, you know? It turns out, oh my goodness, the JFK story was not actually the truth decades later. I mean, you always find out decades later when the CIA declassifies documents, you know, where maybe you weren't privy to the evidence, but then those documents come out and it flips the narrative. But, you know, the same thing for the coup in Ukraine. I mean, there's circumstantial evidence to suggest that the CIA, in partnership with the NED and the USAID organization, which sows discord and funds uprisings in countries such as Ukraine in 2014, there's circumstantial evidence that suggests that the CIA was behind that. But again, we won't really know for sure until those documents get declassified. That doesn't mean we're wrong, you know, just because we don't know for certain. And I think it's healthy to ask questions and to consider everything. And what I've been reading and learning about this event, I think that there's more to the story. And I don't know about you, but I don't personally believe the FBI's story here. And Everything points to this man, always.
That his suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people. A few weeks before his death,
I can't believe, like, you know, and it's like Charlie Kirk is assassinated, and we're always, and this fucking guy just keeps getting in front of the cameras. Why are we talking? Why is he talking to us? You know, look at his eyes right now. He's trying to get you to believe something that's not true. Shouldn't he be running his country? Why would he feel the need to go to this length to protest his innocence amid wild speculations? Like, if they're wild and they're speculative and they're ungrounded, then don't give it attention. It doesn't matter. You got a country to run. You've got so why are we looking at this guy right now?
I spoke to Charlie. I invited him to visit Israel again. Sadly, that won't happen.
Sadly, he said no, so I called the Mossad.
Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors.
I mean, think about every time Netanyahu is on TV defending what he's doing and calling out disgusting rumors. What are those disgusting rumors? That he's a war criminal, that he's a genocidal maniac, that he's committing this or that building. Every time he says this is a disgusting rumor, that rumor is actually true. So the fact that he's like honed in on that frequency, you know, it's like he's a part of that. He's on that level. So he's communicating to those people, to that idea, because that's the idea that he embodies. But every time he calls out disgusting rumors and lies, that's actually the truth. So I'm inclined to believe everything that is the opposite of what he contends.
Perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. May your memory be a blessing.
Okay. Again, you know, I mean, if you have to deny it over and over and over again.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support my work, join my Patreon for exclusive content.